Hello, viewers. Welcome to another episode of the DAAILogic Podcast, where insights meets innovation. I am Darshini, joined by my co-host Anitha. Today, we are excited to speak with Shawn Loddy, a seasoned financial advisor who helps individuals and businesses plan their financial futures, manage retirement accounts, and make smarter investment decisions. Hi, Shawn. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's my pleasure.
Great. We'll just start with a question, Sean. What inspired you to become a financial advisor, and how did you build the business you have today?
Okay, that's going back a ways. So when I was in college studying for my master's, I knew that I wanted to start my own business. I just didn't know what. I don't know whether it was in Stephen Covey's book or there was a book that I was reading that said it's great to do things that you really enjoy doing. And since I was kind of drawn to the stock market for lots of different reasons, all the excitement, of course, but also just from just a sheer curiosity in the beginning. And so I knew that I really liked that. And so that is the course that I took. So I joined Principal Financial Group, which I had interviewed with actually about three different companies, Merrill Lynch, Bank of America, and ended up choosing Principal. And that was back in 2000. That was in right at the turn of the century. So that's when I first got licensed with my life and health license. And then I proceeded to get four more securities licenses, principally the 7 and 65 license. And the 65 license allows one to become a RIA, a registered investment advisor. And they don't tell you that right away, right? No, hey, this is kind of the smart way to go. I don't know. Either I didn't come across the information. I don't know. It felt like it was a secret. And then when I found out, and that was back in 2015. So it took me about 10 years to figure this out. Growing pains, I had to learn kind of the hard way, and that's the best way. That's the way those lessons stick with you. In 2015, I did set up my own RIA. I was still in California, and I started growing my business. And now I moved in 2021. I moved to Albuquerque, Rio Rancho, New Mexico. And I've just kind of I really still love the markets, and things are just more and more exciting every day in that regard.
When people like you had crossed the path tells the story to us, it's more inspiring for us. I would like to ask you about your success story of a client who set a big goal and how you helped them achieve or even exceed their expectation. What do you think made that success possible?
One specifically comes to mind. One of my older clients, and when I said older, I didn't mean in age. Of course, we've been working together for a very long time. That's what I meant by old in terms of. So I started working. One of the very last pieces of business that I closed when I was with Principal Financial Group way back in 2005 was a large K plan with Waxy Sanitary Supply. They were in 3 states, and then they grew to over 7 states. But so many of those employees came to see me because I would go out and I would sit and just make myself available to any employee who wanted to come and talk about their 401. I met this client there, and she was, in her 50s back then. Now she's in her 70s. But so the goal was just to help her retire comfortably. And that's really all she said. In all fairness to her, she was a good saver. She earned a good income and put a lot of money into her 401k. And Waxy matched the 401k. So we really just needed to pick good mutual funds for her to be in. And we did that, and it grew. When I first started working with her, I think she had maybe 200,000 or 250,000. Now she has over $1 million in her 401k plan, which she has since left the company, retired, and then rolled an IRA over to Schwab, where that's the track that I run on, is Schwab. I'm not a Schwab employee by any means, but I am with Schwab Advisor Services. And so, and they have good tools. They're big, they're reputable. And so it gives people comfort with a name they can trust. But I already had the trust with this particular client because we've been working together for so long. So now she is comfortably in retirement. And because of the size of her account, we have, and the interest rates, thanks to Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve raising interest rates above 4%, we have been able to literally just take no risk and buy CDs. One of the nice things about Schwab is they have relationships with banks across the country, and they all post their CDs on on their fixed income site. And so I can shop the entire country for CD rates. And we haven't had to tap into any principal. She's just been living off the interest, and the account has been growing still. And that's because, again, she had a large savings account, she had other things, and she's actually able to pay most of her bills just with her Social Security, which is nice to see. So anyway, I would say that makes me feel good. To me, that's a success story. But I feel bad taking the credit because really the client did all the work. She did the savings, and she trusted me. She actually listened to my advice, and I said, look, these are your good mutual funds. Please go into those. And you want to do an even balanced allocation, right? So small caps, mid caps, large caps, international funds, and then of course a bond allocation. And it was really roughly about 20%, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20. And that perform peaks, ups and downs all over. Even during the great financial crisis of 2008, sure, she did lose a considerable amount, but we stayed the course and it came right back.
So that's powerful. The success like that really shows the impact of strategic planning and personalized advice.
And during the 2008 crisis, nobody wanted to stay in the market. Nobody wanted to. However, if you got out early, that's great. And you had more cash to put to work closer at the bottom. But most people didn't do that because it was kind of a surprise. Those types of financial shocks had not been seen, by anyone. And so, yeah, that was the hardest part is to get people to just stay the course and to not panic. That's the biggest thing. Well, you got to take emotions out of the decision making as much as possible. We're human beings. We're very emotional. But if you can remove, and that's why an advisor is really important, is because they don't have, it's not their money. So they're not really they can be more detached and give you some very good advice most of the time. At least that's the way I work.
That's a great inspiration. You guided her well. If you miss guidance, then it goes in the opposite way. So that also plays a very important role. And let's move on to our third question. What are the biggest bottlenecks or inefficiencies you face right now in managing multiple client accounts and their varied needs? And what takes up the most of your time that you feel could be done more effectively or automated?
Yeah. That is those are points that I really need to focus on. So thank you for that question because it makes me look at my business. And so the pain points are prospecting, getting new clients, getting in front of new people. That is the hardest part right now, especially younger people, I think, because if you're not on TikTok or if you're not on Reddit or some of these, it's tough to get the attention span of some of the Gen Z, millennial. Yeah, it is. So if you do get a chance to get in front of them, you have maybe 5 or 10 minutes. You either impress them in that 5 or 10 minutes, and then you have a chance, or you've lost them, and you might as well just walk away because there's no chance. So that is the biggest challenge, really. So juggling and keeping my current clients happy and continuing to engage with them because they need, what I've realized is that clients have a certain level of service that they expect, but they don't tell you that they expect it. And they don't even show you. They don't reach out. You just find out the hard way when all of a sudden you see so-and-so is moving their account. And you're like, I talked to that person in over a year. And then all the lights go on as to why would they be doing that? So you have to constantly prospect and constantly stay in front of new people. Plus, you have to engage with your current client base and keep them active and make sure that their needs are being met because life is changing so fast these days. That's the biggest challenge. And so I guess the obvious answer would be to try to incorporate AI into my business. I just ask silly questions like, are black holes real? Stuff, silly stuff like this, playing around with the AI, trying to figure out, is it real? Does it give good answers? And, that was kind of like the very first thing I asked. That was over years. That was a couple of years ago. But since then, I've used AI to help me write like newsletters and market updates. It's very useful for things like that. However, I really haven't tried in having it, like, for example, manage a prospect list or manage my client in terms of just setting up a schedule to routinely reach out to certain clients and things like that. Just a simple email, just to reach out, say, hi, how's it going? Do you have any questions? Does Three Eye Atlas bother you? You know,
Yeah,
stuff like that.
I think they need
I
that.
and
Yeah.
Oh, well, and Bitcoin. I love my Bitcoin. I didn't do
Uh,
much, but I didn't have to do much because I got in like 5 years ago, and I've just been sitting there watching it and watching it. I really have a client who trusts me is if they're willing to look at Bitcoin because so many people still don't get it, especially the older, like younger people. That's all they want to talk about. They're like, I don't know. No, I want to be in, I want to be in quantum computing. I want to be in drone stocks and Bitcoin. And I'm all, okay, okay. Well, I got you covered there. No problem. There are some excellent there was one really good drone stock that now there are more, but a couple years ago there was really only one that was public, and that one was really fun. I was buying that one at 95, and I think it's around 266 right now.
and that's a lot of good information from you, Sean. Thank you.
Very welcome.
Sean, how do you currently track and monitor client progress toward their financial goals? What tools, dashboards, or system are you using?
That's easy. Whatever Schwab offers. So Charles Schwab has a pretty good array of tools to use, but they're not great. And because they offer them for free, right? So they do have some higher level tools for some very high net worth. It's very tier kind of oriented. I've learned at Schwab. The very rich people, they get taken care of whatever you want. And then, and there's a pecking order, as you go down, like, okay, so their tools are good, but I know that I don't have access to their best tools because of my size. So I just have the free ones. And so there's a lot of like there's no CRM, there's no client management. It's really just about stock research. Like their good tools are about helping me with stock research, but not really manage clients at all. Now they are good if I get a run into, like, they have legal departments and a trust department and financial estate planning lawyers that I can talk to. And so if people do have a complex trust that they want to work on, or some higher level, some charitable gifting, or, things like this, they're good in that area in terms of just having professionals to work up the documents and things. But managing client relationships, they don't really help at all. And that's where I would look to more help if I were going to purchase something else. And I know that I need to. I was just hoping to really kind of get into next year and then reevaluate, because I do have some pretty good meetings coming up with some new clients. And should they actually materialize and actually open accounts, then I can, there'll be enough, I guess, there'll be enough money to where I could budget like I actually have a marketing budget and an advertising budget, things like this, which I really can't do right now because I'm still just kind of trying to transition from California to here. I'm still transitioning.
Understand that. So here my next question: when onboarding a new client, especially for retirement planning, what steps do you follow, and what are the most time-consuming or error-prone process?
Okay. Well, they see, I really believe in kind of a doctor-patient type of relationship. So I try to really ask a lot of questions on the first couple of meetings about everything from their, obviously from what retirement looks like to them. How do they want to spend their retirement years? Do they want to travel a lot? Do they want to take up a hobby? What would that hobby be? Is it hunting, fishing, skiing, mountain climbing, those kinds of things? Because a lot of hobbies tend to be fairly expensive. So you have to plan for those kinds of things. So I just really try to really get to know about what my client, what really their retirement is going to, and help them. A lot of times they've only given it really broad, generalized thinking and really haven't gotten to the details on. Because if you sit somebody down and you tell them, okay, vision, what does a day in retirement look like to you? That I think is a really good, that's helped me. That's a probing question. I get a lot of good information out of that. And then I always want to ask, what is a good, in your mind, what is a good rate of return? What do you consider a really strong rate of return for your money? And then I listen to that, and usually that's pretty conservative, fairly. Sometimes you'll hear 20, 30%, but that's not very often. And it's usually by somebody very young who just doesn't know that. So yeah, basically you just want to really try to get as firm a picture for what their expectations are. The biggest part of my job is managing expectation. And those expectations are very different depending on how old they are, usually. So somebody in their 20s is really, they just want to see their money grow. They want to know that they're doing something, and they also are willing to take some risk. Like if you tell them, oh yeah, that SpaceX is going to IPO in another month and we could get in on that, they're like, yes, yes, give me some of that SpaceX stock. Right? Because there a lot of young people are following Elon Musk. Everyone knows Elon Musk, whereas people my parents' age, they may not know Elon. They may or may not, depending on what your age you are, the media that you consume and how you consume news and information. So it really is. In a nutshell, comes down to managing expectation.
Thank you. Lastly, I want to ask you, you already gave us a lot of information about it, but still I want to ask this as a conclusion. What's something you wish more people understand about financial planning, especially when it comes to retirement and building long-term wealth?
Well, that it doesn't happen by itself. It takes hard work. It takes effort. It doesn't have to be hard work, especially if you have a good advisor. The advisor should make it entertaining, fun, and educational, but it shouldn't feel like hard work. The work is on the advisor to bring good ideas and then to convince or just to convey those ideas in a in a fair way. Because the biggest, I think so many people in the financial services tend to, they overpromise and underdeliver, especially in the insurance business, like annuities, for example. I usually try to steer people away from annuities and give them other options on how to build wealth and an income stream. So people in their middle ages definitely are more what does my income stream look like? They want to build, they know that they need to have income coming in so that eventually, and one of the key phrases that I love to tell people is that eventually, money will work 24 hours a day if you let it. And if you get enough money working constantly for you, then you can stop working and you just manage the money, or you manage the people who manage your money.
Well said. Well said. Yeah. Thank you so much for being so open and insightful today, Shawn. Your work is making a difference in people's future, and we have really enjoyed learning more about how you do it. If you want to connect and know more about Shawn Loddy, please visit smladvisory.com. And to our listeners, stay tuned. Behind every conversation, we are uncovering ways to make business smarter, faster, and more impactful. Until next time, this is Anitha and Darshini signing off from DAAILogic Podcast. Thank you.